So, welcome to the Pair Awakening. This is Rob. I'm here with Tim Woolworth. So, Tim, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, my name's Tim Woolworth. I am the founder of itcvoices.org and the founder of paranormalstudy.com. I've been teaching about the paranormal for over a decade at this point, and I think I've known Rob for a good part of that decade, huh, bud?
Yeah, we've known each other for quite a while. So, do you have anything new you want to share or any projects that you've been working on?
Working on a lot of projects, actually. I know that you've got this new Pair Awakening thing going. I am working on a podcast on the side myself, a
Nice.
solo project. I had a couple partners, but it's trying to like herd cats, so I decided to fly solo with it. I've got a bunch of new merchandise coming down very shortly. I have new lectures coming, and I have a bunch of lectures coming up starting next month because this month is really slow due to COVID. But yeah, digital streaming lectures for the Dundee Paracon will be the second weekend in November. And then, knock on wood, the first live Paracon I've been to in a year will be in March at Pottergrass from Pooches in Houghton Lake.
Oh, nice. So, what got you into the ITC? Let's just get a little bit of background for the audience.
Yeah, no problem. Well, ITC, I started like most people do with EVP, and I'm gravitated over towards the Ghost Box. I was with this group in New York back in 2008. We were at Rolling Hills Asylum, and somebody brought out this little broken radio, and I was listening to it, and it's just chatter and static and just gobbledygook. But then all of a sudden it just stopped and said Tim Woolworth, clear as day. And I realized that I had to get one of these dang things. And well, yeah, that's 12 years ago, and I've used a ghost box a couple times since then.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, when I first, same thing. I mean, when I first got into it, I just heard nothing but, uh, just chatter, static, whatever. And so I was a skeptic for a long time. I mean, for probably a few years. And then finally, I just started playing around with some with, I think it was a SB7 and Andy's box. And kind of same thing. It was just like all of a sudden it just like went silent and a bunch of responses were coming through on things that were happening there locally during the investigation. And I was like, what the hell? So then I just started picking up and kind of same thing. But yeah, I think that a lot of people, once they hear a ghost box and they start getting getting responses, yeah, then I think they're stuck and they're hooked.
Yeah, I started with the classic Shack Hacks, and then my first big box was a mini box plus, and I bought that back in 2009, 2010, something like that. And I remember I spent a good chunk of money on it. I bought it used, but it's a good chunk of money.
Right.
And I turned it on, and I was like, what the heck is this? I just wasted my money. And it took like a month and a half for my ears to dial into that box. And, everything changed because of that box.
Yeah, it's funny because you and a lot of people just kind of like throw things aside. I've spent so much money on devices, things like that, and a lot of it is, I mean, a lot of it I think is whatever, it's garbage. I hate to say it, but then you find some other things that you just like, what the hell? I mean, this is like impossible. So no, it's kind of funny how that all works. I've heard a lot of good things about the mini box.
Well, the Mini Box Plus, it was the first handful of units, the way that Ron Ricketts tuned them. They
Mhm.
were the best boxes in the world. As you know, some of the best clips that have ever been recorded have come from that mini box that I used. Stuff that was just clear communication with no radio interference. Communications with aliens. The first crossing over session was done on a mini box plus. How I formulated that. I mean, ITC Voices was launched because of the communication I got with that mini box plus.
Yeah.
I've owned 4 of them over the years. Uh, my pride and joy, the one that was just amazing for me, that got stolen from me 4 years ago in a house break-in,
Mm.
and I was able to buy a replacement at a really high premium that was one of the original boxes. So the original 12, I've owned 2 of them.
Wow.
And I had a few of the subsequent models. One I gave to Frank Sumption for parts, and one I just sold to somebody. So I've had 4 of them over the years.
Wow. That's amazing.
My mini box collection pales compared to Joshua's. I mean, he's got the good stuff.
It's funny because Josh told me I could borrow his mini box a few times, and I just haven't taken him up on his offer yet. So yeah, I mean, when he comes on, I'm gonna probably have to take him up on it. I have a radio sitting here for him that he needs to come pick up. So but yeah, it's crazy on some of the things that we do collect, but that's pretty awesome. Now, speaking of your page, I'm going to go ahead and have your page pulled up. If you want to talk about your page a little bit.
Oh yeah, that's the Paranormal Study website. Paranormal Study is the site that I launched in late 2017. It's a site that's dedicated to teaching people all about the paranormal. We don't put any ads online. Everything is free to use. There's over 100 articles on the site, and it's growing by about 2 articles per week. And it is a part of our social media as well. Our social media for Paranormal Study, we've got over 213,000 likes from around the world. There is a real thirst for people to learn about the paranormal, and that's what I like to do is teach people and educate them in the best way we possibly can.
Yeah, it's a great page. When you first launched the page, there was so much in here. I spent days literally just reading different articles, and there's some great information for anybody that, like you said, wants to learn anything about the paranormal. There's everything from God, from UFOs to um, anything within the paranormal. There's ghost box articles. There's just amazing stuff.
Yeah,
There's
UFOs, cryptids, ghosts, you name it, they're in there.
yeah, I mean, there's some great little EVP clips. There's
So that's a
so
whole free
much
course.
information.
That's a conference lecture that I have on there that I've given out for free. It's almost an hour-long lecture on the history of EVP that people can just watch.
Yeah, and it gives you some great ideas for doing EVP experiments and things like that. It's just amazing. And thank you for doing that hard work on that.
Yeah, no problem. It's what I do. It's what I started with ITC Voices, and I'm continuing with this site.
No, that's awesome. It's great to have articles and a page like this. There's a big skeptic page that I used to visit quite often years ago because there was a lot of things that I kind of had my kind of reservations on things, even though I've been doing this for many, many, many years. There's still a lot of things I'm skeptical about. So, some of my findings I would go through, and some other people would debunk the same thing I was. So I learned a lot. And having something like this, I mean, it just gives you more information on that because there's not, a lot of people just have, they'll go try to look for information out there on the paranormal, and a lot of people just go by what they see on TV and things like that. But you can't really do that. You have to kind of educate yourself and find information like this, and things like this is very valuable. I wish other people would do something like this.
Yeah, that's why one of our mottos is read more always. And if you look in the Arcanum section up there in the header, we have a full library online for people where you can download PDFs to read at your leisure. And these are all classic books on the paranormal, free of charge.
That's awesome.
And I'm actually building a subset library to this site as we speak. We have over 7,000 volumes we have to load.
Oh, wow. And for those of you that out there, when you upload documents and you try to maintain a website like this, it's so much work. But yeah, that's awesome that we have somebody out there like Tim doing stuff like this. So we have another Joshua just came in, so let's bring him into the show. Hey, Josh, welcome.
Hey, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We were talking about you a little while ago.
Oh, I hope everything good. I hope good.
We're talking about your ghost box collection.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I guess that could be a lengthy conversation. Well, yours as well. I mean, you build them, and Tim has an absolutely phenomenal collection. So much to discuss, I guess, in that realm as well.
Well, I just build them. I don't collect them. I mean, I don't even own one of my own boxes.
We got to change that. We have to figure something out with that. You need to own one of your own, I think that's
so.
Everybody always talks me out of my boxes. So, I'm a giving person. So
heart of gold, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I am building a box this week. I just finished one up. I was talking to him. I just finished this box up today. So I'm building another one like it. And that box right now, or the next box I'm building on Thursday, will be mine. But we'll see how long it lasts or stays in my hands.
Taking bets.
So, Josh, we're talking about the mini box. So do you still have your mini box?
Yes. In fact, aside from needing to have surgery to take out my kidneys if I ever need money, those are the last things to go.
Awesome.
Those are very important boxes,
Yes,
as well as yours and the others. But I find what Ron Ricketts created to be still very relevant in today's research, in today's field of research at ITC.
Well, Ron was the only dedicated electrical engineer who's ever created ghost boxes. I mean, there's a reason why they stand the test of time.
Well stated, perfectly stated.
Yeah.
And that's I think a lot of the current boxes have tried to emulate certain factors or attributes of that box as well. So they've had a rather significant influence in the field of research.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm gonna have to definitely borrow your mini box from you. I'll have to take you up on that offer. And
yes.
I'm gonna probably do one of my live sessions, 3 a.m. sessions, using that box. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Some of the results that I get.
Yes, the AM box is well, and Tim can speak to this even more. Tim, you have more experience with the mini box than I do. It seems like the AM box has is sensitive to the ionosphere at night, or the changes in the environment and ionosphere. It's very sensitive.
Yeah, and a lot of that is from clear channel broadcasting at night, where
very true.
Radio stations are allowed to buy in more bandwidth for communication. I've used the mini box AM at all hours of the day, and have had breakthrough communication at all hours of the day. But Rob, if it's something you're not familiar using, here's a little anecdote for you. I was doing a historical fundraiser about a decade or so ago, and I was in the basement of a library with a mini box, and there was probably 30 people or so there, and loved ones started to come through. So I start matching the loved ones with the people in the room, and I did this for like an hour and a half. I was completely spent. And the guy next to me from the group, he said, "I've always wanted to use that box. If you're done, can I try it?" And I was like, "Sure." I was getting crystal clear communication. I handed it over to them, nothing but static. So it may take a little while to dial into you, but because of your box experience, you may have much more success than I did when I first started using them.
Yeah. And those of you that have not used a box, sometimes it does. It's weird. You'll take a hold of a box, you'll turn it on, and all of a sudden you're getting amazing responses. You hand the box to somebody else, they start using it, nothing comes back to you. You might not get anything. Then a few minutes later, all these relevant responses start coming through. Somebody trying to come in to communicate with somebody else in the room. So it's amazing on how a box works.
Well stated.
So Josh, what got you into ITC work?
You know, it started as growing up. I was a musician. I was always into audio, and at some point, even using recorders to learn foreign language or repeating translations or verbs and listening back to them, I noticed I heard voices that weren't there. And just over time, through osmosis of just using audio engineering equipment long enough, you eventually stumble onto that. And it wasn't something I was actively looking for. Coincidentally, around that time too, that's when Frank Sumption was working a lot with the ghost boxes. A lot of modern advances have been going forward with EVP. And I slowly, just kind of late to the party with the Yahoo groups and things like that, but slowly kind of caught on, and synchronicity led me to Tim. And now I'm a student of both of yours, really, to speak of to this day. So,
well, thank you for that.
Well, as an engineer, you should be more of a student of Joe Meek, who is known for recording EVPs.
Yes, and in fact, those techniques are, you know, as many steps forward as we take, we still go back to the origins of how this started and what equipment was used to record it, and magnetic tape and different things that were used prior to digital recording are still very relevant, and there's still much to learn about those recordings, the original waveforms.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, and those of you that have not tried to use an analog recorder, those are still, like, bar none, the best recorders out there that you can use for EVP. I've gotten some crazy EVPs using an analog recorder. Somebody was asking what's a mini box, so I'm trying to find a picture of a mini box. Or if you have one handy, if you have yours handy, Josh, if you can grab it.
Yeah. Should I mute my screen, or should I just run and grab it?
Just run and grab it. That's fine.
I'll be right back. Stay there.
Yeah, mine's in the basement, so with my other boxes. I'm looking around, I'm like, yeah, I've got 3 boxes up here, but none of them are 4 boxes, but none are a mini box.
All right, we're just taking like a little minute to kind of, and if you can, if you have any questions out there, people watching, just write like question, and then or like just type in a Q and then your question, and then we'll address all the questions when we have a minute. I'm trying to find a picture, but I am not finding one.
No, just Google Minibox Plus, and it'll probably pull up ITC voices.
Okay.
All right.
I think I beat you to the punch. Let me see what we got here. Okay, so this is, and Tim can help explain the chipset. Tim actually has the original chip that Ron was so proud of. Tim, I know that you have an original version before they changed them. This one is an AM. This is a Minibox AM. This is 531. This is really the second generation chip, which I believe Ron felt was not slightly as effective as the one you have.
Correct. I don't know what the chipset difference was off the top of my head right now. It's been a while since I looked into it.
Right.
But I did have the second series, and I have to concur. It was almost too clean of a sweep versus the original one.
Well said. It's still very effective. It's I've had amazing sessions with this box, but I've obviously watched your YouTube video several times, that I've noticed the differences in the time roll off, the regeneration rate of the signal, and how much cleaner and how much the signal cuts through. It's hard to explain, but your box is slightly more effective than this one.
Well, it's not only the box; it's the user as well.
True.
As you've seen in my videos, I enter into kind of a small trance state when I'm doing these things.
Right.
And I don't know what happens or how the gods align, but when I get these clear sessions with no radio interference whatsoever, and it's just spirit communication,
right.
I can get those on Andes, and I can get those. Well, I've gotten them on several boxes so far, except for like Shack Hacks. But I get good communication on Shack Hacks, but nothing clear like you get with a really customized box, like a mini box or something along in that vein. Yeah, I think a part of it is because I practiced automatic writing as a kid, and you enter that trance state like you do in automatic writing. And when I'm doing the sweep, I let them control my right hand that's on the sweep, and my left hand grabs the antenna. So I become part of the circuit, and they just kind of dial me in along with the radio.
Right. Very much to a musician playing a guitar. It's a skill that's learned over time and refined. And you certainly have refined it. No doubt about that.
Thank you.
No, that's awesome.
And this is the FM I have, which is, I am definitely proud to have it, but it's okay. And I'm just being very objective and honest. It's nothing like the AM or the success of the AM box. The FM it's very noisy. It's loud. So you hear all the frequencies very equally. It's mixed very equally. But it's okay. The reception is okay. Still, it works as an ITC device, no question, but it's not as effective as the AM box, I have found.
Yeah, no, I know that when we were doing Josh helped me out in a crazy investigation a few years ago. That investigation is just, that's going to be a whole show in itself. And I will do a show on that topic with everybody that was involved, but we never were able to fire up the mini box because of just everything that was happening. I think there was too much going on.
A lot of energy and a lot of anxiety trying to get a lot of equipment up and running at one time. And yeah, I think in those situations we went with the flow, and it just didn't come to fruition. So
that happens sometimes.
Yeah. Right.
No, but like what you guys are saying, I mean, when you're using the ghost box, I mean, holding the box in different positions or holding the antenna, try to use yourself as part of the receptacle to gather that information, and use your body as much as you can. And it's funny because once you start doing that, and once you get tuned in with a certain box, like we were saying earlier, that box becomes part of you, and that box is going to be tuned in with your energy, and you're going to get some amazing responses. I know that there's a lot of people here that have purchased boxes from me, and I'm glad to hear that you guys are having so much success. It's amazing to hear all of your stories, and thank you for that, and thank you for sharing your stories. Yeah, if you guys want, you can post some of your comments on here on some of the experiences that you've had with them, and I'll share them with everybody. So here's a question for you guys.
Okay, Faraday's. Here's the thing. You're using a spirit box that functions off of white noise and radio to help formulate spirit communication. So if you stick it in a Faraday cage, what you're going to do is you're going to hamstring the communication itself. and it's counterintuitive to using a box. Now, I understand the purpose behind it for research, where you can say, hey, I'm going to eliminate all radio signal. But if you're doing that, you've got to have some form of noise for transformation. So you've got to be pumping white noise or something like that in there. And then basically you're just recording live EVP. As a side note, if you're curious about Faraday, there's a famed EVP researcher by the name of Alexander McRae. He actually used a Faraday cage, and it was either Cambridge or Oxford. I can't remember which one has the original Faraday cage. And he put in a standard recorder, but removed the microphone and left just the magnetic tape portion inside of the Faraday cage. Guess what happened? He recorded EVP without a microphone. It was directly imprinted upon the media itself in a Faraday cage. So that being said, you may be able to get some kind of communication, but I don't think it'll be anything compared to what you'd get outside of a Faraday cage.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, so my house has so much activity. There's some smells going on right now. Nobody here smokes marijuana, and there's some strong weed smell going on here. And our neighbors,
Wow.
if you look at the landscape or our area, our neighbors are really far apart, and there's
That's
where
true.
where I'm sitting there, I'm pretty far away from the main road, and there's nobody here that smokes marijuana. So yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, that's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, it's just one of the things, and we smell cigarette smoke a lot.
Cigar smoke, sure, yeah.
Yeah, cigar smoke especially, but yeah, this is a first.
Yeah, the olfactory sense is the sense that's most tied to memory. We don't know if that's why it manifests most from the spiritual side, or whether we pick it up a lot easier because it's tied to memory. But yeah, cigar smoke, cigarette smoke, gunpowder if you're at a fort, sometimes a medicinal smell if you're at an asylum, even perfume of a lady walking by. These are all things that are very, very common on investigations. Pot, not so much. Unique one.
That's pretty unique, Rob.
No, but so like I was telling Tim before the show started, next door was a Church of Science, and this was back in the early 60s. Through it was almost 1980 is when the church finally closed, and the house that I live in was a nursery for it. So we get kids laughing. We get the old owner who has been seen on the property, as well as a female owner of the church. She's been seen on the property. So yeah, it's just one of those things. When things happen, it's just funny at the times that it does happen. I had Josh here. It was probably a couple of months ago, maybe.
When I came to pick up this box right here.
Yeah, so we had a couple,
circuit, right?
Yeah, we had a couple of those boxes going, and and it's funny because the first time Josh came to my house, we had two of the boxes running, and the boxes were joining in on our conversation, and then they're communicating with each other. And then the last time he came to pick up his radio, I had it running, and we were just hearing like some crazy stuff happening. It was just all relevant to what we were talking about. It was just really strange.
Yeah, the first big breakthrough I had with a mini box, I was on an investigation at a funeral parlor. And during Prohibition, upstairs where they stored the bodies in the back attic, there was an adjacent room to that, and they had poker and whiskey during Prohibition. So we decided to throw a mock poker game while we're up there. And I was holding the box, and I was asking questions like, how much should you bet? So it'd say a color based on a chip, or it'd look at somebody and it would say, he's holding a pair of fives, and fun stuff like that. So it actually break in on the game itself and give advice on it, which I thought was absolutely fascinating.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Sorry about that. I'm just people are just popping in. Somebody just commented on the same thing.
Yeah, we don't know why smells are created. I mean, first of all, we don't know even what spiritual energy is. I have a personal pet theory on why smells are generated, but I couldn't tell you with any form of authority as to how you see anything, how you hear anything, or even smell anything on an investigation, let alone your home.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and like I always tell people, don't investigate your own home. Um, you don't know what's going to happen, and you're just inviting, things to stay around and things like that. I kind of just ignore it. I see apparitions all the time here. I do have a camera. I mean, I could share some information. I mean, some video footage, but I won't. Just because I don't want to promote my home and things like that. I'm very careful on when I do have ghost box sessions here. I don't have them in the house. I might have them somewhere else on the property, but I just kind of end my sessions and say you're not welcome. Yes, I know that you're here, but just please respect our privacy and respect our home, and don't interfere with our lives. We won't interfere with you. So, kind of just had that talk and that respect, and just left it at that.
I've been the exact opposite since day one. I've done 95% of my sessions in the house. Most other ITC researchers all throughout history all did sessions in their house. Ghost hunting their home, not so much, but ITC sessions, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
going right back to, Jurgensen. I mean, all the EVP and ITC researchers have done work in their home.
I mean, I'll do it outside of my workshop, whatever, but I don't do it inside the house. Just,
yeah, that's fair.
I do it on the property. Like I said, usually in my backyard, there's a couple of places. In my workshop, I'll do them, but I just don't do them in the house.
No, comfort level is a very important thing.
No, exactly. And I'm respecting other people in the home too. So,
yeah, that's the fun part of it. I used to leave my 20 dash, the gray one, 275, 1275. I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head right now, but I used to leave that shack hack downstairs for quick sessions. And there were a couple times when the wife and I would be sitting there watching TV and the box would just turn on by itself. And she doesn't believe in any of this stuff. And she basically said that needs to live in either its case or upstairs. So, yeah, I understand the boundary thing entirely with other people in the house.
No, exactly. So here's something funny. So when I first started building, boxes and I got really serious on building them, I had that same thing happen. We just came back from the Queen Mary, for, it was kind of just like a fun event. I had a bunch of friends come out, and we all did a bunch of, investigating and things like that. And I brought the box in, I set everything down. Everything was off. All of a sudden I just heard a little girl talking, and I was like, where is that voice coming from? And she said, I'm over here. And because I said that, where's that voice coming from? And we heard a voice, I'm over here. So I walked over, and I was like, where's that coming from? And then they said, over here. And I walked over to the box, and the box was on. And the voice was coming through there. And I was like, that box is, and I looked at the box, the box is actually off. And then I'm like, no, the amp is on. So I opened up the box, and no, everything was off. And I was like, there's no way. No, but it was weird. It was so strange.
Well, you know who else experienced that?
Who's that?
Marcello Bacci.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Bocce did something called direct radio voice, where he used tube radio receivers tuned to an interfrequency, multiples at a time, and he would invite people over to his lab once a week on the weekends to talk to loved ones. And the people from the skull experiment went over to investigate his claims, because he did this for over 4 decades. So the skull investigators went over with a couple scientists, and they tore his equipment apart and found out in some of the equipment the tubes weren't even connected, and they were still working.
Wow. That's crazy. Sandra, it's hard to say why it never showed up on camera. I've seen that happen also, where a lot of people have seen a shadow, and you look back on the camera footage and there's nothing there. There's also been the opposite, where we felt something and we saw it on camera, but nobody saw it with their naked eye. So yeah, it's just hard to say why things will appear on camera and other things won't. Do you have any insight, Tim?
Not really. I am not a video guy. I can't tell you why it wouldn't show on camera. What the only consolation that I could have is, one, video cameras or still photography are designed to pick up these same visual frequencies that we have. Obviously, some are modified for ghost hunting purposes, where you can add in UV or IR, but generally it's the same visible part of the EMF spectrum that we utilize. Mm-hmm. Now, if you saw it personally and it didn't show up on your media, it is quite possible that you may have received a psychic impression of a presence in the room, and that may not be picked up with the means that you had to record your media.
Yeah. And psychic impressions, I mean, that's basically what we all pick up on. It's impressions that have been left there by, somebody living in the home. Could even be something traumatic, things like that. There's different types of impressions. And, I mean, I've worked on a case years ago where there was a fire. There's 2 kids trapped upstairs. A father ran up, grabbed the kids, ran back down, and the house was demolished. They rebuilt it. And people still see that event playing over and over. And people think that their house is haunted, but it's just an impression that was left there. Nobody died in the home. It was just that traumatic event.
Well, that's one theory. And that kind of corresponds to what's known as the stone tape theory, where something just keeps replaying itself over and over and over. But that is one way to look at it. The way I look at it is, if you dangle out into the world of physics, all moments in time are happening at the exact same time. So what you may be seeing is not a ghost, but just a slight tear into another time that's happening at this exact moment. And because there was severe trauma attached, somehow that exact moment in time, you're just witnessing it over and over and over again, but it's actually happening in real time on the other side. It's not an actual ghost. They're physical people going through that particular stage in their existence.
Yeah. And that's funny how you say that, because there's a group that, that I know that do some things with the Titanic, and it was at the time, with Rob Wardowski, where he did an experiment where they were trying to communicate with the Titanic. It was on the anniversary of the crash or the accident, and at the same time they were trying to communicate with the time that they hit the iceberg, and they were sending out an SOS or sending out a signal saying that there was icebergs that they were getting ready to hit, and they heard they got a response back. So from the Titanic, it was pretty interesting.
Very much so. I've got a friend who he calls it period resonance, and he kind of does the same thing on hauntings. I'll bring him along on investigations, but when I bring him to a location, he likes to do investigations where there are a lot of public records. So military bases, hospitals, things like that. And he will dig into the records and just learn everything he can about the place. Then he'll go up and he'll act as a sergeant or something and give roll call and actually call out the names of the people who were there at a certain point in time and actually get responses from these people.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Here's a good one here. Going back to the topic we're talking about.
Well, Bocce was a huge influence for a lot of people, and I'm glad you found him early on. There's a lot of people who claim to be ITC practitioners today who don't even know his name. So good on you.
Yeah, there's quite a few of those.
Static.
Yeah, but Sandra, that's pretty much what I always say. And that's why me personally, I like to carry a static detector when I'm walking around. Because when you feel like you walk through spider webs, it's usually some type of static electricity that we're picking up on. And just to validate that, that's why I carry a static detector when I'm doing a walkthrough or I'm walking around through a haunted location, and I'm filming. That way I know that I just walked through some that I did detect a or static charge. So that kind of confirms, what we might be feeling. So
yeah, I've experienced the static thing, but when you're actually feel the spider webs, like you have one section on your arm where it's just grabbed and it feels like sticky energy on you, that I've only experienced two times in all of the dozens and dozens and dozens of investigations I've been on, and it's a super creepy feeling.
Yeah, it happens to me quite often. It's crazy, and people are like, "Dude, that always happens to you. Why are you the lucky one?" And I don't I can't even explain it. It's just weird. So, Josh, give us a little bit of background about you. I know that I brought you on the show to kind of give your background and on how you got into the ITC and how it's relevant to what you do now. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, basically one of my evening job is I'm an audio engineer. I'm specifically working with voiceover engineering, or the frequencies that surround voice. So that's literally and ironically what I do in my evening job. One of the things I've been working on lately, and I'm actually really excited about, because I've been wanting some type of new way to research the original waveform. And there's such an emphasis these days on digital sound processing and the manipulation of the original waveform that I feel like sometimes we're skipping over. There's so much analysis to do on the original waveform that's been captured. One of the things I've been working on lately is imaging, whether it's stereo imaging, 5.1 or 7.1 channel imaging. The same way you'd watch a movie and you hear different sounds coming through different speakers. What I found that's interesting is I have been able to take the original waveform and, like layers of an onion, analyze that waveform and separate the waveform by frequency. So I will isolate the noise. I will isolate different frequencies, the frequencies where the voices are, and I will send them to different speakers. So I'm not reducing or eliminating the noise, because we need the noise. But what I'm doing is I'm isolating the noise frequency and I'm muting it, so that at any time I can activate speakers to the side of me, behind me, or in front of me, and I can focus on just the voice. And what I have found is by leaving the original noise source in, but imaging it or using a directional mixer, is it doesn't eliminate the phonetical vowels or consonants that is generated by the speech that we receive. And it helps eliminate ambiguity. And I'm still experimenting with this, but sometimes someone might say, well, I heard yes. Well, I heard dress. Well, I heard best. And what this does is it accentuates those phonetical sounds, so there's just less ambiguity. So we're not eliminating the noise, but we're imaging it in such a way where it's a 3D space, so you can hear the voices in front of you, the noise behind you. So that's some of the experiments I've been trying to work with and make some advancements on how we're researching the original waveform without digital signal processing.
Really cool.
That is awesome.
Results are still, I still have to do a lot of experimentation. It's more of a theory right now than anything, but I feel like it may help in researching what is said. And again, the white noise is also, in my opinion, is also used as a carrier signal. So we don't want to eliminate that noise, but by separating it, you can actually also hear if there's any messages in the noise. You're separating these sounds, and you can almost visually see them, like you're in a movie theater. Like, I hear this sound coming from the side. I hear this sound projecting and coming toward me. And it just helps give a 3D image of that waveform coming in.
Which will also come in handy because, as somebody who's used boxes forever, you also know that you can have multiple layers in a single communication where there can be 3 or 4 different communications going on at one time. And it's impossible to pull out in just standard audio to a point where people can understand the 3 or 4 different communications that are going on at the same time in just standard stereo.
No,
yeah.
And
how many times, Tim, I love the way you've categorized this. You hear fragmentative communication, breakthrough communication, and communication within the white noise all at the same time, and you're going, I can't hear it all at the same time. But what we're doing now is we're experimenting with compartmentalizing the frequencies and hopefully giving a little more direction on how to hear those things that come in at the same time and separating them, just to get a little more insight onto what's being said.
Very cool.
No, that brings in a whole new topic, and you and I were talking about that last time you were here. We're talking about the different frequencies and how, there's frequencies out there that I've kind of tuned my radios to go outside, and with it, like what we called the direct communication line, and it's just so on my circuit, all of my boxes have this built in. So if you turn it all the way, the scan rate all the way up to where you're only hearing responses, if it was radio frequencies that were coming through, it would be constant, and you would be able to tell, okay, you can almost time it. Okay, every 30 seconds, it's going to be this station. At 10 seconds, it's going to be this station. But no, it doesn't. That doesn't happen. You might hear, something come through, and then 3 minutes, 5 minutes later, you won't hear anything, and then all of a sudden you'll get a response. It's just really, really strange.
I wish I knew more about your end of it, Rob. I feel like my job is so much in post-production.
Right.
But I feel like in your circuit, if I can create an example, it feels like you're able to, the white noise the noise is still there, and somehow you're able to mute that, but yet still use it as a carrier wave to bring in communication. I know that may be a poor example, but and I don't know the inner workings of that, but it's very fascinating.
It was something that we stumbled up on. I think it was an accident, because I was hacking, somebody else's work, basically because it's an SB7 that has been hacked. Basically,
okay,
it's an SB7 circuit that was hacked, and I get it working, so I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving it as it is. I'm not going to mess with it. I threw out so many circuits. I'm like, you know what? It's working. This is probably the best I'm going to be able to get it to work, right? So then you told me about it, and I was like, wait, what? So I started playing around with it, and then I was getting some crazy stuff happening. So then I started playing around with other things. But anyway, long story short, that's where we're at.
Right. I've had great success with your boxes. I've got 2 of them right here, and hopefully picking up the 3rd one soon.
And Tim just got his, so
excellent.
Yeah.
Fits in the palm of your hand. It's feels like a beefy hack. It's really cool.
Oh, that's great. A little bit of weight. Yeah, it's small, compact. I love that.
No, it is small. I mean, it was something that, I wish I could get some more of those out there for everybody. but those radios are just really hard to come across. So I was able to pick up 2 more after the last one I built it was going to be for myself. I still have it. Well, yeah. So, but maybe I'll keep it. Maybe they'll be my only box that I do own. But I thought the same thing when it's like, wow, this feels pretty good in the hand. It's small, it's portable.
Looks cool.
It's rechargeable. It's cool looking.
Yeah.
It's kind of has a steampunk feel to it.
Right.
But anyway, no, it's fun. This is fun. Just trying to see what else.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
there it is.
There.
So cool. Excellent. You wouldn't even know it. It's like in disguise, incognito. Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
really
no,
cool.
Exactly. And it sweeps really good. It sounds good.
Right.
It's loud. So.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do a couple of more videos online too to show people how to build certain things. I posted a ghost box a while back using an Arduino circuit with the code. I did a REM pod, and the next thing I was going to do was what was I going to do next? God, I drew a blank. It's embarrassing.
You get a pass. You build the boxes, so
Yeah.
No, I know.
don't worry about it.
Oh, is an Ovulus.
Oh.
Yeah. So I have the code all written up. I'm just waiting for a couple of things to come through, and once those are done, I'll show people how to build those.
Yeah, you got to fire me those links. I'll put them on a Paranormal Study for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I still need to do a how-to video on your site.
I'm behind as well. So yeah, you and I both have some catching up to do. Oh my goodness.
Here you go. Here's one. Here's a good one.
Excellent.
Go for this one, Josh. What do you think?
You know what? There is actually a digital audio workstation I work with, which helps analyze audio. Pro Tools, some people use Audacity even. They have signal generation or signal generators. And you can actually experiment. I'm not an expert in this. I don't know the exact answer, but one way you can do this is to use a signal generator or generation app, or excuse me, plugin, which you can play any frequency within audible hearing of 20 kilohertz, 20 hertz for the human hearing. I have found that even experimenting with this at any frequency, that when you generate a tone or a sound, that spirit can interact with that. There's energy within that frequency, and the others seem to match that frequency. It seems like whatever I provide, they find a way to use or manipulate. So while I don't really have an exact frequency that may work best, I find that if you experiment and just try, they match your intention. They can work with anything. So I don't mean to have such a vague answer, but at the same time, I find that almost every frequency works. And even outside of human hearing of let's say 20 hertz or 20 kilohertz, even when you looked at a spectrograph or spectral analysis, you can see frequencies that we can see and may not be able to hear. You can see sometimes there's interaction there. To decipher that is a whole different discussion, but we've seen evidence of interaction or possible communication outside of frequencies of 20 hertz or 20 kilohertz, which is the range of human hearing.
And to book on that, whenever you set an intent to communicate with the other side and you lock in a means to communicate with the other side, Spirit's going to find a way.
Yes.
There's a great paper on atransc.org on transform EVP. And basically, it's a more technical way of what Josh just said. Basically, whenever you have a noise, whether it be a bump, whether it be white noise, whether it just be an exhale, spirit energy can use this noise and transform it into a means audible for you to hear. And that is one of the dominant theories of EVP generation. It also carries over to ghost box communication. As we've mentioned before, stochastic resonance is a big part of ghost box communication. That's just the transformation of audible noise. So any frequency that you have within the white noise, brown noise, pink noise spectrum, it's going to work. Just the only issue that you will have is if you're using a strictly digital means with no noise interjection. Like one of the more common questions I get is, I'm using a digital recorder and it's really clean. There's no white noise going on. Well, there is ambient noise in the room that's being transformed. And more importantly, it's using integrated circuits. And integrated circuits are inherently noisy, but they have filters built in so you don't record that audible noise. So you are actually generating noise on your recorder when you record EVP for transform.
Perfectly stated. Yes.
Yeah, I did find some software. That's what I was doing when you guys were talking. But here's we'll go ahead and put this full screen. So if you go to this website, actually you could download it and try it for free.
That's it.
So I'll go ahead and share this. I'll copy the link and share it with you guys. Copy.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You don't need to spend a lot of money for this type of research. There's free apps like this where you can generate a tone, and experimentation is endless. It's infinite. I find the more that I do, the only thing I really realize is I have so much more to do, and it's just there's never really fully a definitive answer with this, other than to say we know that a signal generator or a tone generator will work and will aid in communication.
Or you can just have, a furnace running in the background, a fan,
yes,
anything like that.
Coffee maker makes the right noise sometimes. Yeah, I mean,
Coffee Pot Ghost was the first EVP site on the web.
Right, exactly. So anything, life is a resource. Any source of noise or sound really seems there's no limitations. There really isn't.
So here's a funny thing. I listen to I put on Calm Radio. That's a shameless plug. I'm not sponsored by them, but I listen to Calm Radio when I go to sleep, and I put it on like nature sounds, and I usually put it on like waves. Mm-hmm. So it's just like beach crashing waves in the background. And one morning I was sitting there, I was laying there, and I was hearing voices, and I was like, where are those voices coming from? And then again, it was a little girl speaking, and it was coming from the waves. Between the waves, I was hearing voices coming out of my radio. And I was like, there's no voices there. It's all waves, right? So it's just basically white noise coming through. And it was crazy. So I started doing that when I do sessions, and it helps out so much, even just having that, the water sound coming through. And I don't know if it's just that frequency coming, helping out, but it does help.
Yeah. Well, waves crashing is white noise.
Yeah.
I would like to actually record in an anechoic chamber, to be honest with you. I think that would be fascinating. Yes. I got to go into an anechoic chamber at Shure Microphones, and it was weird. You could actually hear the blood pumping in your ears. For those who don't know, an anechoic chamber is a room that's designed to diffuse, so there is absolutely no echo. You clap your hands, and you just hear the sound of your hands clapping, no echo.
Yeah.
You don't hear the echo from your voice in a room. It is super crazy to be in one of those places.
Yeah. So I worked for an audio company, and we had one, and we went in there, and basically you're up on springs too. So you walk, and so it's like you're walking on springs, like you're walking on a mattress, basically. Is the only way I could describe it. And we're doing the same thing. We're trying to clap. You didn't hear any echo at all. So it was really, really interesting. We were yelling. There was nothing else coming through. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I would love to do that also.
Right.
Somebody had a question here. I don't know why it doesn't show the whole thing. So basically, I'm trying to learn more things like this, but on YouTube's I'm surrounded with the community over active imaginations. What would you recommend to learn more about things you do, or like things that you're discussing now?
I mean, I've got two websites out there that are full of
Right.
information: ITC Voices and Paranormal Study. And it's not active information. It's not active imagination. It's just unadulterated information for you to learn from.
I'm going to pull up the site again and I'll share it.
I definitely think it's important, Tim, to stress too, and I'll say this, that what you've created is really the first of its kind. You're as far as I know, the first person in history to gather this objective data in science that's kind of been floating around the earth, just kind of unorganized, and you're bringing it together cohesively. And I feel like we're at the dawn of having a source like that we can go to learn about this. Yeah.
In all fairness, I wasn't the first. There was, to actually put it in
modern times.
Yeah, in article form I was, but before that there were the Yahoo groups, which were bulletin boards, and Keith Clark had ITC Bridge for a long time.
Yes,
bulletin board, but once again, it wasn't articles, it wasn't explained, it was just thoughts.
Right. Yeah, and not to give credit, I love ITC Bridge. I've learned so much from that site and the forums. And Keith, really, I watch his streams and what he's doing with the Metascience Foundation, things like this. But I like the way you've brought it together, because there's different ways of doing it, but it's also the way you've organized it and how you start from a foundation of learning things scientifically and not coloring it with any type of bias. And I think that's what's really important, especially in the modern age of the internet, where anyone can say anything about any topic. And unfortunately, some people would believe it if they didn't know any better.
Well, there are people who will say anything to make a buck, and that's always been my problem, is I've never wanted to make a buck off this. So.
Right.
Oh, so many names come to mind. It's crazy. And that's kind of how I got started in this building boxes was, I got kind of ripped off by somebody, and I ripped it apart and started looking at other people's designs, said, oh my God, I could do this. And started playing around with things and spent a lot of money in research and development, but hey, I guess that happens. So
yeah, the only problem is you haven't learned to charge $2,500 for your boxes yet.
And that was the other thing, though. So I said, once I get this down, and I'm gonna sell them to people, I don't want to rip anybody off. And I honestly, I don't make a lot of money off my boxes. I really don't. I mean, it just it takes me about 4 hours to build, 4 to 6 hours to build a box, if that. So I'm not really charging much. I mean,
well, you've also got, years of research going into it and a lot of hours. So you're not charging enough.
I know, but you know what? I'm just trying to try to make a good product to get in people's hands and be there for them. That's all I'm doing.
And you're doing it well.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. I second that. Definitely.
No, this is and the shows that we're going to be hosting here now, I want to get them as educational as possible, to try to get the word out there and just help people out, get some people the information, where to look for information, kind of like what people were asking here. Have people on like Jeff, or I'm sorry, Tim and Josh. Sorry, I was looking at somebody's comment. That's what then come through. But get people that are knowledgeable. And I mean, Josh had some great ideas, things that we've been talking about before. And if I could share the information, I'm going to get it out to you guys. So if you guys have any any show ideas or anything like that, feel free to chime in or send me a message. And thank you guys for being on tonight. It was a lot of fun.
It's been a blast.
We need to
Definitely.
get together. We need to
time.
get together again after all this bullshit's over with. I
agree.
would like to go to breakfast or lunch with you guys again. That was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yes. Yes. This time I think we have to fly to Tim though. So he came here last time, so we have to go to Tim.
I totally think that same thing. That's one state I have not been to. That's one of very few that I haven't been to. So I would love to go to Michigan. Check it out.
A lot to explore.
No, exactly. I love the I love the Midwest. Wisconsin. Wisconsin was fun. I had a great time in Wisconsin and Minnesota and Illinois. So I was all around you, Tim, but sorry I didn't make it out to you.
Well, we got to get maybe Austin or somebody to get you out here for a thing.
Right.
Oh, that would be fun.
Right.
That'd be fun. But anyway, well, thank you for coming on tonight. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And you need to come pick up your box before I get rid of it.
No. No. I'll be out there ASAP.
I'm messing with you. But if you could bring out the mini box, that'd be great. Because
absolutely.
My next show will be this Saturday. Sunday morning at midnight. Okay. Yeah, the first at midnight. So
first, okay. That's
yeah,
okay. Good.
So
good.
We're going to be doing 3 a.m. Ghost Box sessions. They'll probably start up about 11:30. Just prep up, kind of do some pre-show work. Just get some ambient music. I don't know. I have a couple of cool ideas.
I know you do.
Maybe we'll do an invocation. Who knows? I'm messing. I wouldn't do that.
Oh gosh.
But no, we'll do some premeditation music and things like that. Just get the juices flowing. So it'll be fun.
I have to say it's been an honor to be on with both of you. Again, I'm both friends with you, but also students. So thank you for calling me up to the big leagues and let me.
Oh, dude, with you guys, you've taught me a lot. So
likewise.
I mean, your knowledge, dude. Never put out your knowledge.
No, exactly. No,
all right, teamwork.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. So, all right, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
And everybody have a great night, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.